When you are a small company or a startup and you're out there trying to make it and you've put all of your focus on colors and logos and fonts, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Do not focus on brand for the first year. And again, that is because you lose focus on your product and your service that you're actually trying to build. And then that first year is so crucial because that's really where you have your momentum. That's where you're really just getting off the launch pad. So any focus that's taken away from that and put on something that is not material is going to have an impact. If you are in a startup and you're getting started, I'm sorry, honey. 80% of all startups fail in the first 2 years. It is just a stone cold fact. If you're out there and you're at your startup and you're at 18 months and I just crushed your soul, I am sorry, honey, but you got a 20% chance of making it. So don't give up. Hi, this is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert. And today we're going to be a little bit off topic, but it is something that is top of mind and a mistake that I see made very often. And so I want to talk about it, and that is branding. So I am no marketing expert. I'm not trying to be a marketing expert. I am not here to give you marketing advice, but I do know a lot about startups, small companies, and rapid growth. And one of the biggest mistakes I see startups and new companies make is this. They get all wrapped around the axle about their brand. Now, a brand is important. Having a logo is important. Having an identity is very important for your product or your service or whatever it is that you are developing. I'm not trying to take away from that. And I'm not saying that marketing isn't important. It is. I rely on marketing myself. But when you are a small company or a startup and you're out there trying to make it and you've put all of your focus on colors and logos and fonts, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You are losing momentum and money when you do this. And so let's talk about this a little bit more and what mistakes I see happen. So startup comes along, they get some funding, they're super excited, they're a real company, maybe they can hire a few people, and all of a sudden we need custom colors. We need t-shirts, coffee mugs, linked walls in custom colors. We need new carpeting. We need all of this stuff to represent our brand. And it becomes what the company is all about. Now everybody's got to wear their special t-shirt to the office. Now everybody's got to wear a special color because we're associated with this color. And all of this doesn't actually accomplish anything material. Mostly what it does is stroke the ego of the founder of the company because they get to see a bunch of people running around in their special color and their special logo. And that's a feel good thing. And if you've built a company, that's a great thing to feel about or feel good about. However, is this materially impacting your company? And the answer is and always will be, unless you are a t-shirt and coffee cup manufacturer, the answer is no. It does not materially impact your organization. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel real good. But it doesn't make your product better. It doesn't make your services better. And it doesn't make your customer happier. Most important, FYI. But why do companies get all wrapped around their brand? They want to differentiate. They want to be special. They want to stand out. And these are all things that a brand should do for you. And these are things as a company you should have at some point in your journey. You don't need it in the first 6 months. And that is the mistake that I see made. In the early days of a company, the focus from the product the service, the building the most amazing, reliable, consistent, whatever it is completely lost. And the focus becomes about quote unquote culture, principles, colors, logos, fonts, and everything else except the thing that's going to make you money. And the worst part of all of this is it isn't the engineers or the designers. So the designer gets sucked in every now and then. It's normally leadership that wants this. And they're the ones that are driving this. And they're the ones that are focused on this because it's important to them. And so they're not leading a company. They're not driving a company now. They're focused on this other stuff. And then the worst part is that then they want to make more of it so that they can sell it. So I don't even have a product or a service that's reliable, sellable, repeatable, but I got a stack of t-shirts if you'd like to have one. This is what I see happen with startups. And the reason I'm talking to you about it today is because I preach about this all the time and then I did it. So I mentioned in my point 5 episode, which is the first episode of the Morning Mood, that I have been trying to start a podcast for over 5 years. And I have partnered and co-hosted and all these other things besides do my own podcast. And the one most recent attempt was with my very dear bestie, Charles. We work together at Amazon. He will be a guest. You'll be hearing from him shortly. And we started our own podcast that we were going to do together called Are You Experienced, which was about customer experience and supply chain. Might bring that back. And we're both Jimi Hendrix fans, so it all made sense. But we met once a week, and we spent probably close to 6 weeks. And I'm ashamed of this. I'm very ashamed of this. But we spent about 6 weeks arguing over logos. Yeah, and colors and how psychedelic it should be and what colors were considered psychedelic and what combination of colors really looks psychedelic versus another and what font was psychedelic. And we wanted it to be Hendrix-y, but not too Hendrix-y because we didn't really want to pay for any rights. So 6 weeks. We recorded 4 episodes and they now sit in a library somewhere. It never went anywhere. And we wasted time. We wasted a lot of time. And I remember saying, Charles, let's just get some stuff on tape. Let's just record. No, we got to work on the logo. We got to work on the logo. So we knew better. Charles has had multiple startups, massively successful, I must say. And he we both fell for the trap again. So that's why I want to bring it up to the table. This is so easy to fall into this trap. And so I want to reiterate again why I counsel do not focus on brand for the first year. And again, that is because you lose focus on your product and your service that you're actually trying to build. And then that first year is so crucial because that's really where you have your momentum. That's where you're really like just getting off the launch pad. So any focus that's taken away from that and put on something that is not material is going to have an impact. And it also costs money. People are hiring designers for $20, $30, $40, $50,000 and then going and buying t-shirts and all this other stuff that doesn't matter. It's not material. So, but I did it. Now, we did not order t-shirts. I did look at order t-shirts. I'm not going to lie about it. I did actually look at ordering t-shirts because I felt like we should memorialize this. But fortunately, my saner self stepped in and I didn't do that. So thank you, Kim, for saving yourself. The other reason I counsel especially startups. Now, I differentiate between small companies and startups because to me, startups is a company that is going to go for funding. And whereas a small company to me is more of a self-funded or possibly a mom and pop operation, more of a physical operation versus a digital. I kind of differentiate the two because when I speak with both of these types of companies and I counsel these types of companies and they consider themselves differently. So I know I'm speaking to a lot of different people. So that's why I talk about startups, small companies. So anyway, I counsel don't do anything in the first year, right? on this. Yes, you need a website. Yep. And you should have a loose kind of logo on what you think it, but we need to refine that later. And the other reason we want to refine that later is that who you become, who your company becomes, what actually drives you to be ultimately successful may change in that first 3 to 5 years. You may be a little bit different. So you don't want to get too locked into a brand when you're starting out. The other thing is this, and this is sad news, and this is really bad news. And if you are in a startup and you're getting started, just, I'm sorry, honey. 80% of all startups fail in the first 2 years. It is just a stone cold fact. If you're out there and you're at your startup and you're at 18 months and I just crushed your soul, I am sorry, honey. But you got a 20% chance of making it. So don't give up. And also don't work on your brand because that's part of the reason why they fail, because they lose focus. So back to 80% of all startups fail in the first 2 years. I don't know the statistic on small companies like mom and pop store startups or mom and pop small companies, but it may be around the same. So, but with a startup, 80% fail in the first 2 years. So let's just roll that back. Okay. So in month 4, you got 24 months, babe. In month 4, if you were all in on t-shirts, coffee mugs, custom color carpets, okay, I know the custom color carpet thing sounds completely freaking ridiculous, but I saw it and it was expensive and it was ridiculous. Okay. So if you're a startup and at 4 months, you're all in on t-shirts and coffee mugs and custom carpets, and you think the custom carpet thing is funny, I've actually seen it. It was ridiculous. It cost so much money. I don't even know why, but it was ridiculous. So if you're focusing on that and you're a startup at month 4 and you're probably going to only make it 2 years, you have lost all of that crucial time and you have wasted a lot of money. And let me tell you, there is nothing more heartbreaking in this world than trying to get rid of the swag from your broken down startup. I mean, your mom's gonna take a few. You got the family will do a pity thing and take some for you. They're gonna show up at the churchyard sale, honey. I hate to tell you. So this is why we don't focus on branding in the first year. Make it a year, get some money under your belt, figure out what the hell it is that you're actually trying to do, and then start refining your brand. Start working on it then. Again, I'm sorry. I hate to tell you, I'm a very everything can happen kind of person, but 80% of all startups fail. And one of the reasons is they lose focus. Okay. So the third reason I want to tell you about branding and talk to you about this is I have a little statistic for you, a factoid that's going to rock your socks and it's going to prove my point, which is why I have it as part of my podcast. Is this is that Amazon was founded in 1994. It launched officially in 1995. Do you know when they got the Amazon logo, the smirk, the smile? It was a smirk originally, by the way. It had more of an angle to it, kind of a he was more excited. But he's flattened out a little, some more of a smile, but it's the A to Z smile is what that's supposed to represent. So do you know when the Amazon smile logo was invented, founded, created, born, as you might say? Guess. What do you 2 years, 3 years? What do you think? Right off the bat, they had it. It's the first thing they started with was a logo. What do you think? 5 years, people. 5 years before Amazon had the logo. 2000 is when the Amazon logo came out. The biggest company in the world, I believe it is the biggest employer. I think I heard, I haven't fact checked that, so don't hold me to that. The biggest employer in the world, the biggest e-commerce company, the fastest growing company, the most diverse company. We got AWS, we got ads, we got videos, we got books, we got clothes, we got everything, right? The everything store that was Amazon's goal. 5 years before they came up with their logo. Do you know why? Because that logo did not make a customer happy. It did not drive revenue. It did not drive customer satisfaction, and it did not drive down prices. That logo was something to identify an amazing company from all the other amazing companies that were out there. And it came at a time when it made sense, when it was time to differentiate who Amazon was, to really build out the Amazon brand. The original Amazon brand logo, if you go back to the original Amazon website, was like, it makes you want to cry. I think it was an A, and maybe there was a book in there. But it evolved. And that's the other thing, and I touched on this a little bit before, is that brands evolve. My brand evolves, your brand evolves, everybody's brand evolves. So if you put all of this money and all of this effort into defining your brand in the first 4, 5, 6, even 8 months of your company, it may be completely irrelevant in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But you spent all this time and money marrying yourself to something that may even limit you because visually and psychologically, you've already decided. So it's a bad decision. It's a bad focus from the very beginning for a variety of reasons. The other thing I touched on too, and I want to talk about it a little bit here too, because I have a funny story about it, is that all of a sudden everybody wants to sell their merch, right? So I'm a software company and now I'm trying to sell you, would you like a coffee mug? No, I don't want your damn coffee mug. Like, why would I buy your coffee mug with your logo on it, right? No, I don't want that. But so I had a great startup I worked with years ago. It was a frozen food startup. Great founder, had a lot of success in the food industry. And he was really excited about this new brand. It was a very premium brand. I came in as like employee number 2 of the startup to build out all the logistics and operations. And of course, they spent a lot of money on logo and branding to the tune of probably at the end of the day, we were in it for probably for maybe close to 500,000. But with the custom websites and all of this custom logos and custom boxes and custom everything, and we haven't even sold anything yet. But the guy had money, so it was okay. But it became all about this brand, and it became all about focusing on developing the actual imagery versus the actual product. Fortunately, it was an amazing product, so we didn't really need to do much to it except sell it. So and deliver it well. But the owner suddenly wanted to brand all of this other merch and sell it with the food product. There was no direct correlation between the food product and the merch. We were looking at snowboards and skis with our food brand on them for really no other reason than that the owner felt like the people who would eat his premium product also like to ski. The logistics of how to get skis and the product to the customer, well, whatever, we don't care about that. The fact that the skis would probably be arriving weeks and weeks after the actual product would arrive didn't matter. It was all about the brand. He was very married to the brand. So we had a lot of very difficult conversations with this owner about why this was a really bad decision and how ultimately it wasn't going to actually drive his sales. It wasn't going to increase his business. Seeing someone flash down the slopes with a pair of branded skis was not going to lift his customer base by 30%. This was really something that the owner wanted, and it was an ego play. It had nothing to do with the actual product. Ultimately, we talked him out of it and we were successful. And the business was highly successful. But it is just another example of how seasoned entrepreneurs, myself included, get sucked into the branding game. So again, if you are a small company starting out or a startup out there trying to figure it out, don't focus on your brand for the first year. Focus on your product, focus on your strategy, focus on making some money, focus on your people. The t-shirts and mugs will come later. That is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow and have a great day.